wait, don't give up your dreams, because in this video, I'm going to show you how to shoot video on the lowest possible budget. I'm going to cover camera, editing, lighting, audio, and gimbal even. I'm going to challenge myself to create a filmmaking setup for $500. Do you think I can do it? Maybe I'll even get some change. So my first tip is obviously to use a smartphone to shoot video. The thing about smartphones is they're not just a camera, they can also be a whole editing system.
Smartphones are getting better at shooting video every year. New iPhones can shoot ProRes and Dolby Vision. The new Sony Xperia 1 even has an optical zoom lens inbuilt. But you don't need to buy the latest Sony for like $1,600. I started this channel with a Samsung S9, which Samsung actually sent me for free. And it was only after this channel started to make money that I was able to afford to buy the Note 20 Ultra that I use now. And then later I also got the iPhone 12 Pro Max.
Miss Walters, it appears you've become a burden to society. The planet has finite resources which you are squandering irresponsibly.
So have I been selected?
So you don't need a top-of-the-range smartphone to shoot great video, but maybe next time that you're upgrading, take into account the quality of the cameras.
Bear in mind the video shooting capability of a phone is different to its photo shooting capability. A phone that can shoot awesome photos might not be so good when it comes to video. So here's a simple tip for shooting video with a smartphone. As soon as you see the image wobbling around like this, you know it's been shot on a smartphone. When we're shooting video with a smartphone, we usually hold the phone at each end like this, but this isn't very stable. The camera can really wobble around, especially if we're shooting a moving shot. But place one hand flat against the back of the smartphone, and this makes our shots far more stable, and we get rid of most of that wobble.
If you want to find out more tips, my beginner to advanced ebook is now available to download for members on Patreon.
Apple have recently released an updated version of the iPhone SE, which is their budget range device. For a device that ships for under $500, it has to be one of the best cameras in a smartphone. And the other thing is that the 2022 version has the most recent A15 chip, which is super powerful when it comes to shooting and editing video. Whatever people say about the iPhone SE's dated design, when you're shooting and editing video, processing power is absolutely key. And the power of this chip allows you to shoot 4K video at 60 frames per second, no problem. Compare that to the cheaper Samsung Galaxy A52s, which actually has a maximum of 4K at 30 frames per second and a rather less powerful processor. On the other hand, the Samsung Galaxy 20 FE can shoot 4K up to 60 frames per second. The Samsungs also have 3 rear lenses, while the iPhone SE only has 1. But for shooting video, the power of that A15 chip is, in my opinion, more important. And actually, the power of the iPhone's chip is also important for what I'm going to talk about later in this video. The main issue with budget smartphones is that they often have digital stabilization, and this can really mess up your video. If you want to turn off stabilization, unfortunately, iPhones do not let you, but you can turn it off using a third-party camera app. If you have an Android, you probably have Pro Mode for video. You can use that to control shutter speed and ISO, which allows you to reduce the digital noise in your video and boost the quality. Now, if you have an iPhone, you'll need to install a third-party app like Filmmaker Pro. There are other camera apps, but Filmmaker Pro is the most used and it's probably the most often updated. And if you have horrible digital stabilization ruining your video, you can use this app and switch it off.
So of course the problem with turning off your stabilization is that now you might have unwanted shaky footage, which can make your video look a little bit unprofessional. Simplest way to get stable footage is to use a tripod. Maybe you already have a tripod lying around somewhere, in which case all you need to do is add a clamp like this. I've tried out dozens of these over the last 3 years, and this is my favorite. It has a port on the front, on the bottom, and at the back. It's nice and strong here. It's easy to get the phone into it. It has a cold shoe on the top and a little spirit level as well, so that's pretty useful. It's just basic It costs about £7-8. Once you make the decision to switch to a smartphone for shooting video, all the extras become smaller and lighter and cheaper as well. So this is a tripod. It goes in your pocket and then you can just fold it out and you can use tables. Yeah, so you've always got this little tripod with you. So that's about £30. So it's quite expensive for what it is. But it's pretty unique in that it folds so small. And but the thing with this little tripod and others as well is that you can take the clamp part off. So this could be used on a bigger tripod. You don't need to buy another one of these. This is an Ulanzi sort of mini tripod which has an extending handle, so you could use that for vlogging. This will go on the top, so you can use that as well. If you had this and this, then you wouldn't have to buy another clamp. You can just use this one. And it also has legs, so you could use it as a little tripod as well. And also have this one. This is something that I use quite a bit. This is another little tripod. This only cost me like £7 on AliExpress. So what I like about this tripod is that it's nice and compact, it's pretty solid, and it tips back like that, so that when you're editing, if you want to edit on your phone, it just helps to make it into a sort of like a little mini laptop, and you can, if you add a keyboard and a mouse, you're set to go. You can also switch it to portrait. These things are very versatile, and it's great to have pieces of kit that can be adaptable to different situations and do multiple things. That means that if you're going away and you want to shoot a travel video, for example, this little tripod here, you can shoot video with it and you can use it to position your smartphone for easier editing. Oh, and also this comes off as well. So, and add it to a bigger or a different tripod. So again, it's just very useful to have things that are interchangeable and that have multiple uses. It's not just about the cost of the smartphone, it's the fact that all the other extras that go with it also come at a reduced price. Once you're working at this smaller scale of equipment, everything becomes much easier, faster, and remember that time is money. So shooting with a smartphone is fast, just got things in your pocket and you can just get going really quickly. If you've got a big kit bag full of cameras and lenses and bigger lights and bigger tripods, bigger gimbals, then of course everything's going to be more expensive, it's going to take you longer. So when I shot that travel video in the Maldives, most of the time I just had a smartphone in my pocket, just this one, and I didn't use any extras for most of the shots. I just walked around, and when I saw something happening, I could be spontaneous and just grab that shot. Whereas if you've got a camera on your back, with extra lenses and all this extra equipment, you can't necessarily get filming as fast, and you're going to miss things, which means that it's going to take you much longer to shoot a video. It does make things a lot easier, and when things are easier, then they're cheaper because it takes less time.
You can even create something for nothing if you're on a really tight budget. And if you have a smartphone gimbal, that can also double up as a tripod. My favourite smartphone gimbal is currently the Zhiyun Smooth 5, but there are great cheaper options out there as well. The Hohem iSteady X or X2 can be purchased for under $80. As well, the DJI OM4 SE is a great gimbal and only about $90. Or you could get a cheap 2-axis gimbal like the Zhiyun Smooth X, which is currently going for about $30 now. It will still smooth out the footage, the only thing missing is it doesn't have a tilt axis.
I just bought this very cheap 1-axis gimbal, although actually on here it's called a 1-axis gimbal, so that doesn't really augur well. But I just wanted to get something very cheap. It's only got 1 axis, so it'll just stabilize the roll movement of the camera. But I just wanted to try and see if we can do something that's cinematic and professional looking. Maybe we can try some crane shots and some fake drone shots with this like £20, £30 gimbal. So here it is, all set up. It's very simple to get started with this. If you want to do a crane shot, then you need to go sideways, like with the DJI OM gimbals. So let's see what we can do.
here's a tip for setting exposure with a smartphone. Now, when you set exposure, it's better to underexpose than overexpose. That's because it's easier to get image information back from the shadows than from blown out highlights.
If you're getting too much noise in your video, or maybe the image just looks a little bit flat, then you probably want to think about adding some lighting. So here's a tip for creating a professional lighting setup on a budget.
You might think that professional lighting costs thousands of dollars, but this is an industry trick used all the time in big budget movies. The ball lantern. This is just a regular paper lampshade, and you can find these everywhere, and they're very cheap. You might even have one in your house already. For filmmaking purposes, what we want is a nice, soft, diffused light, and this lampshade is perfect for that. Whatever color the paper is will be the color of your light, so you probably want a white one to match the daylight. So this is an ordinary household bulb equivalent to 100 watts and with a temperature of 5000 kelvins, which is daylight. And to finish off, I bought this household lamp cable with a switch. So you're going to need something to hang it from, and I'm going to use my tripod, which has an arm which you can set at 90 degrees.
No matter what budget you have, one of the best ways to improve your audio is to reduce background noise and reflections. And when I say reflections, I mean like echo or reverberation. You can have a $2,000 microphone, but if you're standing in a big empty room with bare walls and bare ceiling and there's some roadworks going on outside, your audio is going to be pretty unusable.
So when I first started this channel, I used to use the inbuilt mic on my smartphone to record the voiceover. Get as close as you can, not too close, but this is about right. So put some cushions, put the phone on a sofa maybe, or on a bed, pillows, anything that will absorb the reflections. Also helps to reduce the background noise, because any background noise from outside or in the house, if you're in a room with bare walls, it will enter the room and then reflect around. But if you have things like sofas and cushions and pillows, they will absorb some of that background noise as well, and so your speaking voice becomes clearer and it sounds nicer. You're not getting this echo. Another last tip is just to put a piece of foam. This is actually a popping shield from my Sennheiser mic, but you can use any bit of foam. If you just place it in front of the mic, then it will stop any popping sounds, because when you say p or b, it creates a burst of wind, and if it hits the microphone, it creates a nasty sound.
If you're talking to the camera in your smartphone, then you're probably not going to be close enough to get a good audio quality, and then you'll get more reflections, you'll get more background noise interfering with the audio. But if you want to record yourself talking to camera, then you can get yourself a pretty cheap clip-on microphone like this, this is a Boya, can't remember exactly. It's a BYM3, and this one has a USB-C connector so that it just plugs straight into the phone. You can also get one with a lightning connector for iPhone. And you can also get these cheap wireless clip-on mics for as little as £8 or £9 on AliExpress, or maybe £20 on Amazon. So it comes with a transmitter and a receiver, and the receiver just plugs directly into your smartphone. It's very light as well, so if you use your smartphone on a gimbal, probably won't add too much weight. So this one that I bought also came with a lightning adapter, so that you can use it with an iPhone or an Android. Now, because they're so cheap, you might find that you get a bit of background hum.
Now, if this is a problem, you can remove this hum using software like Adobe Audition. Now, if you don't want to pay for that, there's free software called Audacity, which you can try, and it's available for Mac and Windows. But even with the hum, you might find the audio from this mic is good enough for your project.
If you're able to spend a little bit more, I really recommend the Rode Wireless Go 2 system. So you can record with a clip-on, or you can actually record directly into this little box here. This is the transmitter. And you can record straight into the box as a standalone recorder, or you can record directly onto the smartphone. It's up to you. And this is actually a Rode wireless clip-on mic which you can plug in. But you can plug in any clip-on mic with a 3.5mm plug. So of course you know that you can edit video on a smartphone, but what you might not know is that your smartphone could actually be the best device that you have for editing video on. And here's why.
couple of years ago, people started discovering that their smartphones could render video faster than their expensive editing systems. And it turned out this was down to the design of the processor. And for this reason, Apple decided to completely change how they made their laptops and desktop computers and started using processing chips with a similar technology to smartphone chips. So without going into a long explanation, let's just say that the A15 chip is fast, and it comes with the latest version of the iPhone SE, as I said. This phone is actually a camera and an editing suite for under $450. So you don't need to spend thousands on expensive editing gear, you can just use your smartphone. There's also a couple of great free editing apps for both iOS and Android. There's Vlog now, although they've just introduced a paid-for version, and there's CapCut. For iPhone, I really recommend spending $30 on LumaFusion. Now, if you want a bigger screen, you can just simply connect your smartphone to a TV or a computer monitor. You can also connect a Bluetooth keyboard and a mouse. And I'll walk you through how to do this with an iPhone in my beginner's guide to editing on an iPhone. So if you already have a phone and a screen, this editing setup is going to cost you less than $150.
So which of all these items can we get for $500? Well, let's get my calculator out and run through the numbers. Okay, so we got the phone, which is $429. That's if you're going to buy a whole phone, but probably you're going to need a phone anyway, so does it really count as a cost? Then we're going to add Filmic Pro for $15, equals $444. We're going to get the VN editing app because it's free. So now we've got $56 left. What are we going to buy with that? I think I will go for the $20 one-axis gimbal because we can do some basic stable shots with that. And I'm also going to go with this little $10 thing. It's very versatile. We can use it for filming and editing. So we've still got $26 left. I would probably just add the Bluetooth mouse. So that's maybe another $15. So that leaves us with about $10. So if you like this video, let me know by giving it a thumbs up. And here's another challenge. If I get to 2,000 thumbs up on this video, I will buy an iPhone SE, 3rd generation, and I will use all the equipment that I've just been talking about to make a video. And I'll make a video about me making that video. And finally, a big thank you to all the members on Patreon. We had a record number joining again last month. So that's it for this one. I'll see you next one.